Are you a teacher, academic, or professor on the J1 program and you're subjected to the 2-year home residency rule? This video is going to talk about unique issues for you if you're on the J1 visa program and you need a J1 waiver. So stay tuned, watch to the end, because we're going to be talking about not only the J1 waiver issue, but we got to also look at what are you going to do after you complete your program. The J1 program, it's a great opportunity for teachers, academics, professors to engage in educational exchanges in the US, but it does come with that 2-year home residency requirement. And that can affect your ability to change visas or pursue permanent resident without first returning to your home country. Fortunately, there is the cure to the J1 disease, and that is the J1 waiver. So we're going to talk about some of the different options that might be available to you in this situation. So you won't always be subjected to the 2-year home residency requirement. It depends, first of all, if you did receive government funding from your country or the US government, or if you also are on the skills list where your field of expertise aligns with the State Department's exchange visitor skills list designated by your home country. Now, what do you do if you are subjected, if you are in one of these situations? Well, then you're going to need to apply for a J1 waiver or go back for 2 years. There are 4 primary grounds under which teachers, academics, researchers can apply for a J1 waiver, each with its own set of requirements and procedures. Let's look at one of the more straightforward ones, and that's the no objection waiver. With the no objection waiver, you need to get a no objection statement from your home country in order to be able to stay in the United States. A lot of times people apply for a no objection waiver even if they have US government funding, and most of the time those applications are denied, and I see valuable time that's wasted applying for the no objection waiver when it ends up in a denial. So it's important to make sure that you're eligible for the no objection waiver, and also that your country is going to issue a no objection statement. So for instance, we do a lot of J1 waivers for teachers from the Philippines because the Philippines government is making it very, very difficult to get a no objection statement. So in that situation, the hardship waiver is the best option in most situations. Another option is a request from an interested US government agency. If you work in a role that's deemed crucial for the US public interest, you could seek a waiver through an interested government agency. And then there's the exceptional hardship waiver. That's where you have to show exceptional hardship to your US citizen spouse, lawful permanent resident spouse, or US citizen child or lawful permanent resident child. And we do many of these. In this situation, it's really important to provide a very persuasive legal argument. It's also very important to have extensive documentation supporting the legal arguments. These cases are very difficult to win. We see people often who file it themselves and then they come to us at the request for evidence stage. At this point, you don't get 2 bites at the apple anymore. You only get to respond to the request for evidence, whereas if you start off with a stronger application, then you can address any concerns with the request for evidence. But if you have a poor filing and then try to remedy it with responding to the request for evidence when the initial application was prepared poorly, it makes it much more challenging. So with these cases, you want to make sure you're very thorough in preparing the application so you can optimize your chance for approval. And I recommend that you go and watch many of the videos discussing the hardship waiver options in detail. And then there is the persecution waiver. So if you have a fear of persecution and you can show you have that reasonable fear of persecution in your home country based on race, religion, or political opinion, you may be eligible for a persecution waiver. And this is also a good option to consider if you have US government funding. Now let's look at the J1 waiver process. This process can be complex, especially depending upon the type of waiver you're trying to receive. Although each waiver does have specific requirements, there are some commonalities. You have to complete the online J1 waiver recommendation application, form DS3035. You also have to mail the application with the applicable fees and submit the supporting documents. Processing times vary depending upon the different types of waivers. So for instance, the exceptional hardship waiver is taking anywhere from a year and 11, a year and 10 months to a little over 2 years, depending upon processing. We did get one recently approved within a year and 3 months, but that's on the very fast end, and that's where we also did expedited processing requests. Now, no objection waivers are much faster than that. Persecution waivers are taking anywhere from around 12 to 14 months. So as you can see, depending upon upon the type of waiver, is going to depend upon the time that it takes. Now, this is the longest processing that I've ever seen for exceptional hardship waivers. So I'm hoping that those times are going to come down because the times are ridiculous right now. What's really important to note as well is that you have a plan of action for you after you get the waiver. So for instance, if you have a spouse who's a US citizen, then you can apply for a marriage-based green card. But what if you don't have a spouse? What if your application is based off of filing for a child? Then in this situation, you want to make sure that you can apply for H-1B visa, that for instance, the school district or the university is willing to apply for H-1B for you, or after you obtain the waiver, apply for a green card. So it's important to have these plans of action in place so you're prepared and ready to apply for a status that will allow you to remain in the United States after you get the waiver. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. By watching this video, you're bettering yourself. By bettering yourself, you're bettering your family. And by bettering your family, you're bettering the world. Thank you. Bye for now.